Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to another session of this course on Islamic inheritance law, in which we shall be looking at the inheritance share of the father. Let's start off with text from the Sirajiyah. أما الأب فله أحوال ثلاث: الفرض المطلق وهو السدس، وذلك مع الابن أو ابن الابن وإن سفل، والفرض والتعصيب معا، وذلك مع الابنة أو ابنة الابن وإن سفلت، والتعصيب المحض، وذلك عند عدم الولد وولد الابن وإن سفل. The share of the father is mentioned in the Quran in Ayah 11 of Surah Nisa. The Quran states, "And for his parents, for each of them, there is 1/6 of the inheritance if he has a walad, but if he does not have a walad and the parents are the only heirs, then for the mother 1/3. Although the word only does not appear in the Arabic text, this is how it has been interpreted by the Muslim jurists. We have discussed the meaning of the word walad earlier in the course, but it is worth refreshing our memory. Walad in this context means a child or an agnatic grandchild, however low soever, as shown in the family tree diagram. So a walad is a son or a daughter, no matter how distant, through a male line of descent. The inheritance share of the father has three possible scenarios. 1. The father inherits purely as a Quranic heir, a share of 1/6 in the presence of a son or agnatic grandson, however low, meaning a grandson through a son. 2. The father inherits a 1/6 share as a Quranic heir and as a residuary in the absence of a son or agnatic grandson, however low, but in the presence of a daughter or agnatic granddaughter, however low soever. 3. The father inherits purely as a residuary in the absence of a child or agnatic grandchild, however low soever. Let's see how these three different scenarios play out in practice. The first example on the left shows a situation when the only heirs are a father and a son. In this situation, in the presence of a son, the father inherits solely as a Quranic heir, a share of 1/6. The son, as the residuary heir, inherits the remaining 5/6. If the son is replaced by an agantic grandson, meaning a son through a son, the father again inherits solely as a Quranic heir, a share of 1/6. The son's son, as the residuary heir, inherits the remaining 5/6. Similarly, if instead of the son's son, we had an agnatic great-grandson, meaning the son's son's son, as shown in the third example on the right. Now let's look at the second scenario. In this scenario, there are no sons and no agnatic grandsons. The father inherits with a daughter or an agnatic granddaughter. In the first example, the only heirs are the father and a daughter. The daughter inherits a Quranic share of 1/2. The father inherits his Quranic share of 1/6, but since he is also the residuary heir, he inherits the residue of 1/3. So his total share is 1/6 plus 1/3, which equals 1/2. In the second example, the only heirs are the father and two daughters. The two daughters together inherit a Quranic share of 2/3. The father inherits his Quranic share of 1/6, but again, since he is also the residuary heir, he inherits the residue of 1/6. So his total share is 1/6 plus 1/6, which equals 1/3. In the third example, the only heirs are the father and a great-granddaughter through a line of sons. The great-granddaughter in this case is an agnatic granddaughter. The agnatic great-granddaughter inherits her Quranic share of 1/2. The father inherits his Quranic share of 1/6, but again, since he is also the residuary heir, he inherits the residue of 1/3. So his total share is 1/6 plus 1/3, which equals 1/2. In this third scenario, the father inherits in the absence of any child and in the absence of any agnatic grandchild. In the first example, the only heirs are the father and the surviving wife. The Quranic share of the wife in the absence of a child or agnatic grandchild is 1/4. The father inherits the remaining residue of 3/4 as the only residuary heir. In the second example, the only heirs are the father and maternal grandmother. The Quranic share of the maternal grandmother is 1/6. The father inherits the remaining residue of 5/6 as the only residuary heir. This brings us to the end of this session. Insha'Allah, see you in the next one.